Hello there, Miss Shinners here. We are going to be working on some Chapter 8 review today. We will have our summative assessment on Thursday, and so I'm going to be picking some of these review problems to walk you through. So you should be copying down the notes with the video. And then for any of the problems that we don't get to, you need to try those to the best of your ability and make sure you turn it in the upper right-hand corner so that you can get all of the points that you deserve for working so diligently, even when we go virtual. So let's get started here. Write your name in the upper corner here. So I'm going to write Miss Shinners here. And my question to get us started here is I would love to hear about how you were feeling on your first day of virtual learning. So I will admit that I was pretty stressed and worried that there would be Canvas issues. And I am very happy, though, to report that it went much better than I even could have imagined. I'm really, really proud and thankful for the hard work you guys put in on the first day. So great job, and let's keep it up. So let me know in a sentence or two up top how you were feeling. I would love to know. So here, guys, we are going to be graphing this quadratic. So grab your calculator or open up Desmos. I've already typed my quadratic in. And let's see here. It looks like my x-intercepts are -5 and +1. So I'm going to start my table at -6 so that I capture all of the x-intercepts. All right, let's pull up the table here. And I need a couple more x values, right, to finish up my table. So -6, enter, -5, -4. So I'm just entering in all the extra x values we need. And then I'm going to add those to my table in the other document. So -6 has a output of 7, -5, 0, -4, -5, -3, -8, -2. Oh, that one's up at the top, -9. My memory is just not so good. All right, now I should see my values start to repeat because of the symmetry in my parabola. All right, let's get graphing these points. Okay, so make sure you graph all the points and connect them in a nice U parabola shape. All right, awesome. So let's see here. It asks us a couple questions. My x-intercepts are when y equals 0, right? We talked about this yesterday. And so these are my y-intercepts. So let's write those down right away. -5, 0, 1, 0. My y-intercept is when x is 0. So that would be right here. So that's going to be 0, -5. My vertex is the lowest point when my parabola opens up. So that would be my minimum value, which would be right here, -2, -9, right? That's the most negative y value we see on our table. And the axis of symmetry is going to be the vertical line that cuts my parabola in perfect halves, in perfect symmetric halves. So think about if you were folding up your parabola, where would you fold it? And it's on this line right here. What x value is that? -2, it looks like, right? Which happens to be the x coordinate on my vertex. So that's a pattern that you can always look for. Because my vertex is right at the center of my parabola, that will always happen. The axis of symmetry is going to be right when the x equals the x coordinate of your vertex. Awesome job. So pause the video. I'm going to ask that you run through that exact process again on number 2 here. So do the same exact thing on number 2. And so pause the video, and then when you're ready, we can jump into number 3 here, okay? So pause, come back. All right, welcome back. Make sure number 2 is complete to the best of your ability so that you get full points here. I want to get everybody 5 out of 5s. Alrighty, so number 3 wants us to factor and use the zero product property. So if you scroll down to the last problem, I ask you to factor. So you do not have to use the zero product property to find your intercepts, okay, on these ones. So these ones, you'll just do the x and then factor, right? Now up here, I've got to do the whole kit and caboodle, all right? So we're finding roots, which is just a fancy way of saying x-intercepts, okay? Ooh, that's a messy handwriting. All right, so letter A is factored for us. So thank you very much, letter A. And so I just have to use the zero product property, which tells me if my product is 0, one of my factors has to be 0. And so I just solve each factor and set it equal to 0. And we talked about this yesterday. What is the pattern we see? We see that the factor and the intercept is opposite. So my intercepts here are 2 and -4, and those were the opposite of my factors in that problem. So that's a pattern we should continue to look for today. In letter B, unfortunately, it's not yet factored. So, oops, I've got to jump in and factor this one. Some of you may recognize this as a difference of squares. I talked about this, I know, in my morning algebra classes. If you don't recognize it, it's okay. We can still factor it using the diamond method. So check out these other quadratics and notice that don't they all have that middle term where I have just a plain x with a number? Now this guy, letter B, does not have a middle term. So that means B is 0, A is 1, and A times C would be -9. So what multiplies to -9 but adds to 0? That would be 3 and -3. So 3 divided by 1, that's going to give me 3. -3 divided by 1 is going to give me a -3. Again, I follow the same process. The zero product property tells me if the product is 0, one of my factors has to be 0. So I set them both equal to 0 and solve. And I notice that my intercepts are always the opposite of my factors. Awesome. Let's try another one. All right. My B in this one, I have a B, so B goes on the bottom, A goes underneath, and A times C is 36. So all of these have a leading coefficient of 1, except for this one, letter E, has a leading coefficient of 7. Alrighty, so what multiplies to 36 but adds to 12? You can Google factor chart if you need some help on this one, but I think that would be 6 and 6 would do the job here. So 6 divided by 1 is +6. 6 divided by 1 is another +6. So I really have the same factor twice. So I don't think I need to set it equal to 0 twice, right? I know that I'm just going to get the same value, which is -6, the opposite of x plus 6. Alrighty, so same process in letter D. This looks pretty similar, right? I've just got a little negative hanging out. And so don't forget, if this middle term is minus, then your B is a -7. Alrighty, so what multiplies to a +12 but adds to a -7? That's got to be a negative times a negative, because otherwise how would I add to a negative? All right, so which of these adds to -7? That would be -3 and -4. -3 divided by 1 is -3. -4 divided by 1 is -4. So again, the zero product property tells me to set these both equal to 0. And I notice I get, x equals 3. And then I get x equals 4 for x-intercepts of 3, 0 and 4, 0. All right. Notice they're the opposites. All right, for letter E, I notice that I don't have a C term. So I could try to use my x and that process would still work. But to make my life easier, who sees a greatest common factor between 7 and 35? Is there a number that goes into both of those evenly that I could maybe pull out front to make my life easier? Yes, they both are divisible by 7. The next thing I notice is they both have an x term. So I can take out a 7x. And that's going to be my factor out front. And then what's left behind is x minus 5, right? If I divide by 7 and take away an x here, I just have one x left behind. And then 35 divided by 7, that just, the x's cancel and I just get 5. So I'm going to set this equal to 0 and I'm going to use the same process, right? I need one of these factors to equal 0. So it's either got to be 7x or x minus 5. Opposite of -5 is a +5. So it's 5, 0. And then this one looks a little different. But anytime you have just an x all by itself, that is going to be x equals 0, right? So yeah, dividing by 7, 0 divided by 7 gives me 0. Alrighty, I think I've got time to get you started on number 4. And again, we've got to do our best to try the rest of the problems in order to get full credit, okay? So number 4 says the price of milk has been steadily increasing 5% per year. Whenever you see a percentage, do I think linear, exponential, quadratic? I think exponential. So I'm going to write down my exponential equation right away, where A is my start and B is my multiplier. It tells us the price is currently $3.89, so that would be my starter, my A value. And I just need to figure out what is my multiplier. This is going to be a percent increase problem since it tells us the price is increasing. So I add it to 100. For a 5% increase. Next, to get my multiplier, I divide this by 100. You can use your calculator or Desmos if you're not one that just moves the decimal place over 2 places. And but either case, you should get a multiplier of 1.05, which is exponential growth. So remember, if it's exponential growth, my multiplier should be bigger than 1. I want to know the cost in 10 years, so I'm just going to plug in 10 for my x value. So hop onto Desmos and type this in, 3.89 and then 1.05 carat 10. All right. Let's see what that gives me. With rounding, that should give me about $6.34 for the cost of milk in 10 years, okay? That's about all the time we've got together on this video. Your job is to finish up this document to the best of your ability. Email me if you have any questions. Email your algebra teachers or any support staff in the building. We are all here cheering you on. Good luck. You've got this.